welcome to the City Biz Show. I am so excited to be your special guest host today. And today we have a really exciting, phenomenal guest, and I'm excited to meet him myself because I don't hear about this topic as often as I think that we should. So hold on to your hats. I'm about to bring you the phenomenal Tyson Junkers. Tyson is the founder of Forged in Fatherhood. He's a podcaster of a show by the same name. He's a certified John Maxwell coach. I love John. And he's helping fathers build relationships with their children. Tyson, welcome to City Biz.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. You make me sound even better than I could have.
Well, I think you are phenomenal. I love what you talk about. I love your topic because it's so needed. I know many single moms, and I know many of the mompreneurs, and you're bringing something else to the table, which is fatherhood. And I don't think we talk about it enough. So right off the bat, Tyson, tell us what inspired you to start Forged in Fatherhood and what it is.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, it really starts back and when I had my first son, and I had this idea in my head that I didn't really have to change much. And obviously to nobody's surprise, it turns out that having a child is a bit of hard work. And that realization kicked in for me when I found myself getting frustrated at the needs of my 3-month-old child. And I truly believe that it was God at that moment who sort of smacked me in the side of the head and said, hey, you need to do better. And once that realization kicked in for me, I didn't even know where to start. But little by little, I started making all these different changes in my life. And I, at the time, was an entrepreneur. And so I kind of looked at that and I said, okay, well, how do I balance that? How do I make it so that I'm prioritizing my family? And I started to realize that having a son makes me a father by label, but it doesn't make me the father that my children need. And that's where this concept came in of like, I need to become forged in fatherhood. Like I need to actually become the father my kids need while being a father. And I think that there's so many other fathers in that area and in where they maybe feel lost and they don't know where to go. And so I started to kind of come up with this concept of how I could help them. And I really specifically looked at entrepreneurs because that was an area that I was in. And I know it's an area that a lot of entrepreneurs look at, and they look at it like, I don't have enough time to really be intentional with my kids. And so I started to work on that. And I ended up making that the Forged in Fatherhood mission is to help entrepreneur fathers go from not feeling like they have enough time to be intentional with their kids to being loving and present dads, with the ultimate goal of building these lifelong relationships with their children.
Tyson, this is so great that you're talking about this because I deal a lot with this with, again, the women, the mompreneurs, so much more of a trending topic. And here you are helping fathers. And tell me if I'm right. I'm thinking of Forged in Fatherhood, of helping those men be dads. Because there's a difference between just being, okay, you're a father, you go to work and come home. You're really helping them enter into this fatherhood, this dad relationship. And does it also help, because I know you're married, how does this impact your wife as well?
Well, so part of the Forged in Fatherhood concept is I put together what I call the 6 pillars of fatherhood. And so these are 6 different areas that I feel like every father needs to work on. And those pillars are not just about the father-child relationship. It's about the father themselves, like the work they need to do with themselves, and all the improvements that they will do in terms of the relationships they build will not just be about them and their kids, which is obviously to me, one of the most important goals, but it's going to affect everything from who they are as a person, the relationships with their spouses, as well as the relationship with their kids.
It also brings to mind that kids do what we do, not what we say. And it seems like this is helping you live the example of what a father and husband and dad looks like. Do you feel like the kids are starting to emulate the fathers that are forged to fatherhood?
It is funny that you asked that question because quite literally this morning, I'm working on a presentation and everything that I plan on giving about one of the pillars, which is guidance. And guidance is ultimately about a dad being a role model. And so I was writing out different stories of things that I've experienced with my kids. And it's funny because a lot of them are really positive. I read a lot. And so my kids, even from a young age, before they even knew how to read, would just emulate me. They would just follow along, be like, ooh, I got to open these up. And they're looking at the pictures, but now they're really enthusiastic about reading, and they get more excited about going to the bookstore than a toy store, which is crazy, but awesome. I love it. But then I also looked at it and I was like, I have some bad stories in there where it's like they overheard me saying something and then all of a sudden they're writing it down. I'm like, wait, why are they writing that word down? And I was like, oh no, it's because they heard me saying that. And it is the most amazing thing, because the way I typically word it is, I'm like, they see everything. Even if they're not looking, they still somehow see it and hear it. And it's unbelievable. But so that's why, to me, being a role model is one of the most important it's one of the 6 pillars like I put on there, because it's just so unbelievably important that I think the best way of saying it is, I want to be the kind of man that I want my son to become and the kind of man that I want my daughter to marry.
Amen to that. That is such a great mission statement for you. And I know that many other men want this same thing, and many are feeling lost and wondering how you juggle it all. So I'm glad you have a 6-pillar step, because people really do well when there's a system, where there's a strategy, not just inspiration. You can do it. I believe in you, but a real strategy to helping them achieve this goal. So with that, I know that you do events and you started a podcast, Forged in Fatherhood, and I'm going to say too, Forged in Fatherhood. Tell us how that has really helped you build the audience to help people find you so they can get this help that they need.
There was a amazing podcast that I listened to. I want to say it was well over a year ago. And I laughed because what the guy said was one of the most true statements, which he's like, I started this podcast not to help other people, but just to help myself. And it was funny because I really looked at Forged in Fatherhood and I'm like, I want to have a podcast that talks with entrepreneurs, and who, whether they just started a business or they're in the middle of running it, maybe they're, working on the next level of their business, and to talk about, hey, this is when kids came in the picture. This is what it was like. There's nobody who's going to sit there and say, oh, I was running this, incredibly successful business. Kids came in the pictures and it was nothing. Like, there's always something. So I want to share those stories to show that, it's just to show these other entrepreneurs that it is possible to still go after your dreams and to have an amazing relationship with your kids. And I'll tell you, this is a podcast that we just started. It's actually, the first episode is launching really soon. We've been kind of just recording some in the background for a while. And the conversations I've had have just been so incredible. And there's a lot of common themes, which is actually almost helped me reassure that the 6 pillars that I put together really are the 6 pillars, because you hear them come up a lot, the different problems in different areas and how they work through it. And it has just been so unbelievable. I now look at it going, yeah, sure, I'll share these with everybody, but this is almost like me getting one-on-one time with just mentor after mentor after mentor. It's been so incredible.
Do you have a specific memory that comes to mind of somebody that you have helped, a gentleman that's come to you saying, thank you for this. I, went to your event, or I took the 6 pillars and this is what happened. Anything kind of come to mind, without using names, of course?
Yeah. So, and this has become a common theme to it. So, 2 of the biggest problems, especially on the entrepreneurial world, that fathers face is, the first is always when it comes to time. They always feel like there isn't enough time. And the other one is about being intentional. And it was interesting because I started looking at that and I said, well, if you put them together, and what I mean by that is, there was a study done that showed that the average amount of time a father gets one-on-one with their kids is about 37 minutes a day, which is, it sounds crazy low, but yeah, it's about 37 minutes of face-to-face time per day. And I said, well, the problem isn't we need to make more time. The problem is we need to be intentional with the time that we have, because those 37 minutes are, it's not about, oh, well, how do I make it an hour? It's like, well, if it's an hour, great. But if you're still not being intentional with that hour, it's not any better. So I really started to talk about the idea of habits a lot. And where the habits that I started to talk about were different things they can do in a very short period of time that will help the relationship with kids. So a small example of that is, I start every day off and I talk to my kids, and I have this phrase that I use where it's just, let me tell you about you. And then I start to talk to them one-on-one, and I tell them the different characteristics I've noticed in them the other day. So like my daughter, for example, does gymnastics, and I'll be like, oh, you know what? You showed incredible resilience in this. You were super kind to everyone in your class. You cheered on your teammates. And it's funny because now I'm at the point where I say, let me tell you about you. And they immediately roll their eyes at me. And yet they're like, no, tell me about me. And they get excited about it. And I'm like, it's a less than 5-minute thing, But you see that, like when my daughter goes out and does gymnastics, she has this little kind of like chip on her shoulder, like I can do anything because my dad says I can, and I love it. But so it's really about not increasing the amount of time, but just how to use that time best. And a lot of times that comes down to habits. And the reason I bring that up is we did an event recently, and at the event, I had someone come up afterwards and I talked a little bit about habits. Other people talked about a variety of the different pillars that we have. And he was like, I never really thought about all those little things that I could do on a daily basis that will really change the relationship that I have with my kids. And he actually messaged me, I think it was earlier last week, and said to me that he started to do the same. That let me tell you about you. And he's like, my kids love it right now. And I was like, that's awesome to hear. I got me so happy to hear that.
So you're talking more, and we've heard this before, about it's the quality, not the quantity. And I think that's great. And it seems like men have the same issues as women, finding the time, making it all work, making it all balanced, that balanced lifestyle. So I think this is so relevant. If it's not only the women working on it, but now it's the husband, whether they're married or they're single dads, trying to make that family unit work. And I know you have an event coming up. You work closely with the John Maxwell program. So talk to us a little bit about what this event is, what it's based on, and how those listeners and viewers that are listening right now to the City Biz Show can get a hold of you and come to your event.
Yeah, absolutely. So the event we have it's a mastermind. It's 8 weeks long. And by 8 weeks long, I don't mean you're there every day. It's a one time a week for an hour. So that's right. So starting October 10th, I think that's Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern. So each week for 8 weeks straight, we're going to be covering John Maxwell's book, Today Matters. And Today Matters it's an incredible book. And what I love about the book is it applies to anybody. And so I looked at that and I said, but Today Matters is really all about making the best of every single day. And I said, this is something that entrepreneurs need and fathers need incredibly badly. So I actually decided to theme it that way, where even though this mastermind could apply to anybody, I'm trying to bring in entrepreneurial fathers so that the conversations we have around the different, I think it's 12 different parts in Today Matters, each part, the conversation will revolve around the idea of being an entrepreneur and being a father and how we can use every day to the best of our ability in all the different ways that John Maxwell covers. So it's really going to be an incredible conversation. I love it, especially because it lets me just facilitate where I get to stay quiet and more just kind of throw some questions out there and really learn from people who are experiencing this firsthand and to see how we can help. And anybody who would be interested, so we have 20 spots open for that. And that's it, because we want the conversation to really be personal. If they go to the website, which is forgedinfatherhood.com, on there is an events page. It has a registration link on there, and they can also learn more about me, about the organization, and see what else we offer.
Is it a virtual event where people can go from anywhere in the world?
Yes, great question. Yeah. So we were initially looking at doing it in person, and then I really wanted to just have these conversations, not just, well, if you meet the same group of entrepreneurs in Florida, we have almost like the same mindset. And I was like, let's broaden that a little bit. So yes, it's technically available to anyone worldwide, and they can join us as long as they can make it that 1 p.m. Eastern time.
And I love that one good thing that came out of, the shutting down and the pandemic and all that was we all went global. And I really love virtual events now because they really do bring not just the people that know you and just want to learn more. You're really able to open up your ideas and your programs and your solutions to people's pain worldwide. So good for you. I hope everyone goes to forgedinfatherhood.com and at least check you out. If it's a good fit for them, they're going to come to your event. And will they also at your event learn the 6 pillars? Is that combined in there as well?
Yeah. So my intention with the mastermind especially is to really cover how to make people's days as best as we can. And part of that, because it's going to be conversations with entrepreneurs and fathers, I really want to touch on those 6 pillars, because I think the idea behind it too is that in those 6 pillars, if you focus effort on it each day, and I don't mean like an hour per pillar per day, because then there goes your day, but I mean just a little bit of time to think about them. And so the combination of 2 will be unbelievably incredible. And so anyone who goes to the website, they can see that event, and they also can read about the pillars on there as well. And then we also offer a number of other things, from coaching to speaking opportunities and so on, to really take a deep dive into those pillars.
So one-stop shop, forgedinfatherhood.com. Y'all check them out there. And now as we come to the close, got a few more minutes left there, Tyson. Leave us with what you would want to tell the fathers that are watching you right now. Leave us with some closing words, some insights, some advice from you. Just in case this is the one and only time they hear you speak, pour into them for a minute or two your insights to being the best father that they can be.
I think really one message that I want every father to know is, because this happens a lot, is anything that you do with when it comes to the relationship with your kids is not a permanent thing. Meaning, if you really feel like you messed up and you didn't go the right way, you didn't respond the right way, it's not the end of your relationship. It's not the end of how they're going to be as people. And we're all going to make mistakes no matter how much you try. I mean, I literally have the company Forge and Fatherhood. I try to be as great of a dad as I can be. And there are days where I'm like, why did I say that? Why did I do that? But it's, the best advice that I can ever say is every single thing is an opportunity. Every event that occurs is an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to grow. And honestly, it's an opportunity to share as well. And that's what I try to do. Is I know I'm going to make mistakes. I know others are going to make mistakes. So it's like, let's talk about it. Let's have it be an open conversation and learn from it, because it's going to happen. So the best thing you can do is just say, I look at it anytime I fail and I say, okay, well, how is it actually a good thing that I failed? And we start to look at that and take a deep dive into it. I also really try to tell fathers a lot that be that open and vulnerable with your kids. So when you fail, when you mess up, when you do whatever it is, talk to them about it. I have had times where I've had to sincerely apologize for something that I said to my kids. And I told them why it was a mistake. I told them what I learned from that mistake. And it feels so weird doing it. You almost feel like you're putting yourself into a therapy group by doing this, but immediately they were so happy about it, and they forgave me for it. They genuinely forgave me for it. And so, yeah, it's just a matter of that. It's be open, be vulnerable, be honest, and understand that it will never always go perfectly, but that's okay as long as you learn from it.
Tyson, huge applause to you for that, because if we can teach the gentleman, I don't know, women, we find it easier to say, I'm sorry, easier for that. But if you are teaching the next generation how to apologize, how to not have the stress on their life that they have to be perfect, to know that dad's not perfect. And when dad messes up, he asks for forgiveness. Mom asks for forgiveness, because we're all humans. What a great family value to not only just teach or let them read in a book somewhere, but to see in living color as you do that, because they will do what you do. And you show them it's okay to mess up. We're human, where it's okay that we ask for forgiveness. We make a mistake, or what I like to call a lesson learned. It's showing them, it's giving them a life skill that is more important than thinking, now, son, you better be perfect, or daughter, you better be perfect and get straight A's and never mess up. If you mess up, you're in trouble. Good for you to allowing them to live life and learning those lessons and how to have that life skill. Thank you so much, Tyson, for being on this show. Thank you for being on City Biz. What value you bring to this show and to our viewers right now. Hope you'll come back in the future. Thank you for being here. Forged in Fatherhood. Please check it out. You won't be sorry. And us ladies, we will learn from it too, because we got those men in our life that we want to have that wonderful connection with, because it is a family dynamic, whether you're together and married, divorced, separated, widowed, it's all part of this family dynamic. So thank you, Tyson, so much.
Thank you so much.
You all have a great one. This is Aurea McGarry. I'm so honored to be here today hosting City Biz. Until next time, thank you for being here, and we're signing off for now. Thank you.